And hello again, everyone. Welcome to Oklahoma Sports Scene, and welcome inside the beautifully cool Lee Street Ice Center. It's 100 degrees out there, but we tape our show up here. My coach tell me it's 58 degrees. Come on here and get cool and enjoy the great atmosphere here at this place. It's unbelievable. Thanks again to my buddy Mike Zingenhorn for filling in for me last week. A great job as our sub-host. Left me now with a good show to follow up with. Take a look at our headlines. Here's what's coming up here on the show this week. Our introductory interview with the University of Tulsa's new athletic director, Justin Moore. Tulsa World Sports columnist Bill Haisten gives our Michael Knight his report to use American Athletic Conference Media Days. Robert Allen starts his 20th season on the sidelines of Oklahoma State Radio Football Network. We'll have part 2 of his interview with him as he talks about some great numbers in Cowboy athletics this past season, update on OSU players now in NFL training camp, and record number of former Cowboys competing Summer Olympic Games in Paris. Remington Park starts its thoroughbred race season next Friday, August 16th. Dale Day has a preview for us. But first, let's meet the University of Tulsa's new athletic director, Justin Moore. The vice president and AD took over on July the 8th. We had him on our Oklahoma Sports Scene show, said a couple of weeks ago. Taped this 2-part introduction, starting with his background in sports.
Well, I was a student athlete at Texas A&M, was a baseball player, so I have a good understanding of what the student athlete experience is like. Then actually went to work for Deloitte, a Big Four accounting firm right out of school.
Right.
I spent a couple years doing that before I decided I wanted to work in athletics. So I transitioned back into athletics, went to graduate school at Texas A&M, started working in the athletics department, and then really got my big break. In 2008, I got hired at the University of Houston by Kevin Sumlin as his director of football operations. Spent 4 years at the University of Houston, had a lot of success, and Coach Sumlin got the job at Texas A&M. I went with him there, was on his staff for 4 years there, and then transitioned into administration. And then have been very fortunate to work with a number of different sports and most every unit within the department, and then was able to get this opportunity here at Tulsa.
You said the University of Houston is where you first got to meet TU.
That's right. Yeah, 2009. If you remember that game, it was an incredible game. And Houston made a last-second field goal to win it at the buzzer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was the football operations guy, and so I was in charge of all the logistics and the travel. And so I actually came down a day early before the team and got a tour, and that was really the first time I got to see campus, and really was super impressed with the facilities and the community. And that's really where I learned about Tulsa, and really throughout my career have kind of kept my eye on the job and hopeful that one day it would open up and the timing would work out, and was very fortunate.
Well, you worked at some of the majors, thinking of obviously Texas A&M, Houston. What attracted you to the University of Tulsa?
Yeah, so I would say first, again, the community. My family, I have 3 kids at very important ages, 15, 13, and 11. And so where I would move and raise my kids was really important. So the community was great. I thought there was great infrastructure at the university. I thought there was great facilities and a lot of things already in place that are challenging to get in today's college athletics world. I really thought that the values of the university aligned with my personal values and what the university stood for. And then I thought there was great alignment from the board to President Carson and to athletics. And I just know how important that is in college athletics today to have great alignment. And I thought we had the ability in the league that we're in to win at a high level across all of our sports. And that was important for me to go to a place where I felt like we could be successful in all of our sports.
Rick Dickson always said, hard to argue, this is the smallest enrollment in Division I, as you well know, in athletics. But he said Tulsa's always fought above their weight.
Right. Yeah, I think I think I've heard that a lot since I've been here, from whether it's coaches or staff, that we kind of get the most out of what we have, and I think that's great on one hand, and on the other hand, it's going to be my job to help generate some additional resources and build up an athletics program where we can compete at the highest level.
Well, you're off to a great start. I know you give Rick a lot of the credit for this, but all of a sudden, the University of Tulsa received a $30 million anonymous donation, and then an $8 million donation as well.
Yeah, incredibly fortunate, some generous supporters, and I think it just shows the commitment that Tulsa has to athletics and how much our donors and the community care about Tulsa. And so it was a tremendous way to start, for sure. I can't take credit. I do have to give Rick all the credit. I know he worked really hard on that, and I've been very fortunate to get a chance to get to speak to Rick quite a bit, and he's been nothing but great, helping me get off to a good start.
What is your focus as far as what do you think you'd like to do differently or add something, subtract something?
Sure.
What are your thoughts on this early on?
Yeah, the first thing, I think it's really important that I get a really good understanding of the operations of the department, how things operate and why, and then really get a good understanding of the people, who does what and why, and then really start establishing some important relationships on campus so that I have a good understanding before I start making decisions. And so I think that's always important. So I'm in the learning phase right now, and I'll do that for the first 30 to 60 days before I feel like I have a really good feel, and then I'll start making the changes or adjustments that I think will be required to operate the way I'd like to.
And quite a few sports to oversee, 17 sports, right? 10 women, 7 men at this point?
That's right.
And I've had a lot of my TU alum friends say, now, I know you're going to talk to Justin Moore. I know he's a baseball player. You get this a lot. When are you going to bring baseball back to the University of Tulsa where it belongs? We've had a great history of baseball here.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I haven't quite got that far in my learning exercises yet. So I know there's been some great history before, but we're not to that point yet of talking about changing sports or anything like that. So to be determined.
And of course, it's all about this day and age, the budget and stuff. And
right.
I guess if you had a sport, a male sport, you have to have a female sport too, don't you?
Well, it's not just the budget, but the Title IX requirements.
Right.
And so I think you will not see many programs adding sports right now in the current climate.
Right.
With all of the NIL, the revenue sharing conversations, I think you'll actually see the other way where schools are going to try to be as efficient and as lean as they can to change what has the new model of college athletics.
Justin Moore, the new athletic director of the University of Tulsa. Justin, didn't take you long to make your first hire, the new women's golf coach.
That's right. That was the first day I was on, I think the day I found out about the $30 million gift. Rick called me that morning, and then later that afternoon, the golf coach called me and told me she was leaving. So I had to jump right into it. I spent a lot of time on women's golf my first week on the job, talked to a lot of people, quickly found out that golf was really important in this community.
Yes, great
and again, I want to win in every sport, and it's critically important that we hire great coaches for all of our sports and for all of our student athletes. And so I thought we did a great process and couldn't be happier with the coach that we found. I think Coach Roders is going to do a phenomenal job, extremely well respected in the golf community, and I think we're really fortunate to have him.
Impressive resume for Michael Roders, the new TU women's golf coach from the University of South Carolina. Helped the Gamecocks to 3 NCAA championship appearances, perennial 5 status. They always had a real strong program with the Gamecocks.
That's right. Yeah, they've been a perennial top 5 program in the country the last several years, and he's been a huge part of that.
Take a break, going to come back and talk just the kind of general college athletics. Things have changed a bit over the years. Right back with our new athletic director at the University of Tulsa. Got him with us here on Oklahoma Sports Scene. Justin Moore, when we return, stay with us.
Our story, it lives in Tulsa, where the spirit of the past lives alongside us and urges us on toward a vibrant future. Because our story is still being written. It's the story of Tulsa, told by the journalists who live it and love it. Whether it's covering our rich history, bringing you the hidden gems of the food scene, or following the action in local sports. And here, in the Tulsa world, is where it comes to life.
Thoroughbred season at Remington Park continues into December with plenty of winning primetime action. Make plans now for Oklahoma Derby Day on Sunday, September 29th. The lone Sunday afternoon of the season begins at 3 p.m. with the richest race of the season, the Grade 3 $400,000 Oklahoma Derby as the main event. The normal Remington Park Racing Week is Wednesday through Saturday. First race nightly, 6:30 p.m. Visit RemingtonPark.com for all post times, group rates, and dining reservations.
You've seen the billboards, you've heard the hype, and now it's time for the Wee Street Ice Center to open its doors and welcome you in. 140,000 square feet, 2 ice rinks, public skating, hockey, arcade, game simulators, and the largest sports bar and grill is sliding into Tulsa. It's the grand opening of the new Wee Street Ice Center, 43rd and Yale. Make your plans, get your skate on, or watch some sports today. The Wee Street Ice Center, now open and ready to serve you. Wee Street Ice Center, 43rd and Yale.
We're back on Oklahoma Sports Scene and back with the new athletic director at the University of Tulsa, Vice President Justin Moore. Justin, welcome to Tulsa again. And, I know you got a lot on your plate, but the college athletics has really changed over the last just few years.
It has. Yeah, I think it's changed as much in the last 2 years as maybe any time in our lifetime. And I think it's going to continue to change. I think what's critical for us is, regardless of what happens, we have to be able to adapt to what's coming.
Right.
And we have to focus on the things that we can control right now. And that is making Tulsa Athletics the best athletics program that we can, so that we've set ourselves up for success for whatever the new model looks like, that we give ourselves as many options as possible when we get to that point.
Okay, let's start with the portal. A lot of opportunities for athletes now, but just drives the coaches crazy. You got to recruit your own athletes over and over again, it looks like.
Yeah, it's for sure changed, where it used to be really hard for somebody to leave and go somewhere else. And
lose
then
a
if
year
they
of
did,
eligibility.
that's right, you'd have to sit a year. And now there's freedom of transfer every year. And I don't think that's going backwards. I think that's going to be hard to get that cat back in the bag. And so I think as a coach, coaches are going to have to adapt. And I think coaches' relationships with the players are now more important than ever.
Right.
Because they have the ability to go somewhere else if they don't feel like they have a great relationship or they have a better opportunity. And so I think the relationships with the coaches and the culture of your organization is more important now than ever.
Name, image, likeness, NIL. That's when it has all the coaches going crazy.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about NIL, but I think the combination of NIL and the transfer portal is really what's making it the most challenging. But I think what true NIL is a good thing. It allows students to, earn money off their name, image, and likeness, which I think is a good thing. And I think the reality is it's a huge part of what college athletics is. And so for us, our job is to understand the rules and the parameters which we work in, and do what we can to give Tulsa and our teams the best chance to be successful. And so NIL is going to be important. We're going to have to put together a good plan to be able to support our student athletes and our teams, and we'll work hard at that. I haven't quite had a chance to talk with everyone enough to know what that's going to look like, but that for sure will be one of our objectives moving forward.
Let's talk now about facilities. There's always a facilities war. Bigger, better, newer, and the recruits coming in look at those things too, don't they?
Absolutely. And I think part of our job as the athletic department is to provide the coaches and the student athletes with the resources they need to be successful. And part of that is facilities. Not just to have great facilities that you see, but also where your student athletes can develop. And I think we're very fortunate that we have really good facilities in place. There's a few things we probably need to look at for the future, and maybe some areas that need to be upgraded, but we will have a great facilities master plan about what's the plan over the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years down the road. And so as we continue to evaluate all of our challenges at Tulsa, we'll make sure that that's part of our process.
Had a recent renovation of Chapman Stadium, great facility there. Reynolds Center, still holding up beautifully right now. So that really looks, and of course the Mike Case Tennis Center is world class. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, we've got some great facilities, so we're very fortunate.
Thinking about the future now for TU athletics, what are some of your main thoughts? Where do you like to take this university, these programs?
Yeah, I think the first thing we have to do is start competing at a championship level in the American Athletics Conference across all of our sports, but particularly in our revenue sports. Because the way that college athletics model works, a healthy athletic department has to be successful in the main revenue sports. And so we will work hard internally to build a championship level culture that allows our teams to compete at that level. And we need to start competing for championships consistently across all of our teams.
Justin Moore, the athletic director at the University of Tulsa. Justin, a lot of colleges now just kind of throwing their hands up and say, well, let's not pretend we're student athletes. Let's just pay the guys and get over. The University of Tulsa, education's important.
Absolutely. And as a former student athlete myself, who took pride in their education, I'm still a purist at heart.
Good.
And so we talked a lot about that in the interview process. And academics will always be paramount at the University of Tulsa. And that's really one of the things that I enjoy most about this job, is the chance to get to work with some truly world-class student athletes. And we'll continue to recruit great student athletes, develop them, and watch the great things they do after here as well.
Well, congratulations on everything here.
Thank you so much.
About you.
I appreciate it.
Join us, having you on many times in the future, I'm
hey,
sure. Justin?
just let me know. Happy to be here.
I appreciate that. Also, not bad to start with $38 million.
That's right.
Athletic
It's a
Conference.
good start. We'll take more for anyone who wants to give it.
And speaking of more, let's talk about football season tickets are now on sale. You got a lot of packages to contact the football office, get all the details.
That's right. You can go to our Tulsa Athletics website or call the office. We've got some great packages. We've got a great home schedule this year, so we'd love to have as many people out as we can.
And that's something we really worked on here. It's just so frustrating, even with the big OU and OSU or even on the road or something, just so hard to get some people into Chapman Stadium.
Yeah. And we're going to do a lot. I think you've seen some of the really big improvements to our pregame festivities, our in-game experience. We're going to do as much as we can to put together a great experience for all of our fans. And so we think it's absolutely worth your time. We'd love to have you out and support our student athletes, and we look forward to a great season.
Just remember this, the University of Tulsa is Tulsa's team.
That's right. That's right. We're the city of Tulsa's team. You don't have to be an alum. Anybody who wants to come, we are absolutely the University of the city. So look forward to having you out.
All right, go TU. Justin
right.
Moore, athletic director of the University of Tulsa. Looking forward to talking with him many times in the future, and looking forward to TU really expanding and moving on and going up and up the American Athletic Conference as well. Come right back on Oklahoma Sportscene after they take this timeout.
It's time. Time to get back to the basics. Time to meet up with family and friends. Time to play ball. It's time to cheer on your Tulsa Drillers. It's Hornsby time. It's Tulsa time in the heart of the city. It's time to fire it up.
Founded in 1960, Ed Bashira's Formal Wear and Fine Clothing has been dressing gentlemen for over half a century. We are family owned and operated, offering premium brand tuxedos and accessories in our Tulsa store on South Harvard. Bashira's also does made-to-measure suits, sports coats, dress shirts, and slacks, and a top line of sportswear. We do tailoring on-site to assure the perfect fit so you will look your very best for that special occasion. Ed Bashira's Formal Wear and Fine Clothing, an Oklahoma tradition.
As the sun rises over eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
Hey, welcome you back to Oklahoma Sports Scene. You know, Justin Moore took over athletic director's job at the end of June as Rick Dickson retired after some 30 years in intercollegiate athletic administration. Before he left, though, we asked Rick to look back, talk about the changes he's seen now in college athletics, the portal, name, image, likeness, now $2.8 billion lawsuit against the NCAA. What's the future for the NCAA? What's the future for TU?
Kind of the signal that I see is it's the first time there's been any forward movement. We've just gone through a decade of litigation against the NCAA.
And they never win a case, ever.
Ever.
Like,
they're 0 for the decade.
They are,
or the millennium.
Yeah.
And I do applaud and understand what our chief executive Charlie Baker is trying to do for the NCAA, which is get out in front of this. The only way we're a very impotent and inept national governing body right now. There's no governing going on,
true.
And there can't be under the threat of litigation. So he's worked hard and diligently to try to get in front of it. This will be if the settlement is accepted, this will be the first resolved case since all this litigation began. There's still others out there. One name to keep in mind that I think is of significant risk going forward is the Fontenot case. And it too could turn into something epic in terms of what's left out there. Now, that being said, as I've been pretty vocal about kind of how this evolved, this in regards to the House case. So if you hearken back to just a couple months ago when we agreed to a new postseason football, the CFP championship.
Right.
And I was part of and rode shotgun next to a president at Tulane who took on and really broke up caused the collapse of the BCS that resulted in today's CFP. That was Scott Cowan.
Right.
And saw what they did, and was really just the fact of one president standing up and calling foul on this BCS that had operated for a little less than a decade, but was so restrictive, and only 2 teams being allowed to participate, and multiple conferences, even at the highest level, were precluded. It wasn't working for anybody, and for the little guys, for certain it wasn't. That resulted in today's CFP, which opened it up to 4 teams, and as you saw, we're part of a conference that qualified a member in Cincinnati. Interestingly, in this new formula, the 12-team playoff that begins next year, our conference, the AAC, would have qualified a member 8 times in the 10 years, a participant in that 12-team playoff. One of the things that just occurred in this newest negotiation, although the participation expanded to 12 teams being invited, is lo and behold, when we did the contract negotiation, we actually went backwards, the smaller conferences, in our share, even though the payout, the pot, over doubled, went from $500 million to over $1.2 billion. We saw a modest increase of $300,000 per school.
You pointed out that they wanted you to pick up the check.
Well, that goes back to the NCAA in the House case. But just in the revenue distribution of this championship, we saw a modest jump of $300,000 per school. The group of 5 did. The automatic 4 or Power 4 conferences went from $7 million to school to over $21 million. Their reasoning and logic was, well, we're the ones named in all this litigation, the A4 schools and conferences, so we need the lion's share of the revenue. And of course, we either had to sign on under duress. If you want access to the championship, you've got to sign on to this, which we did begrudgingly. 60 days later, the settlement's offered, and now they say, oh, by the way, you guys that only got the $300,000 increases, you need to pay 60% of this settlement. And so it's like, okay, you negotiated not in good faith. And it doesn't bode well, even though it's different organizations. It's the NCAA, and we were not in the room, not part of the settlement, but yet we're given 60% of the dinner bill.
What is the future of the NCAA? I guess tied just to the men's basketball tournament they get all their money from. And more importantly to me, what's the future of college, a student athlete?
So, you know, Chris, I've in some other interviews, I've characterized it this way. There's obviously a move and trend afoot to professionalize some of our primary sports, men's football and basketball. But they're trying to do it within an amateur organization, the NCAA. And we're terrible amateurs at being professional. And so this may, ironically, I don't think it was at all designed to be like this, but it may actually keep the NCAA together for the period of this lawsuit, this settlement of 10 years. Because the NCAA's role in this was what Charlie Baker did, and I tip my hat to him, is he saw an opportunity to stabilize things by getting in front of the litigation and said, the national office will pay 42% of this settlement. And then the other 58% will come from the Division I schools. Well, then the political aspect of jockeying and the big guys saying, oh, let's give 60% of that 58% to the little guys. You know, but the NCAA is kind of the facilitator, right? They're the clearinghouse for solving these damages. They're taking on 42% and offloaded 58% to the rest of us. Well, if that stays intact, that may actually solidify the purpose of the NCAA, whereas the last half decade, you could argue, what role are they serving?
$2.8 billion antitrust lawsuit, the portal, name, image, likeness. Why would you want to retire?
Yeah, what am I thinking?
Exactly.
Like I said, I'm the envy of the country right now.
Rick, all the best. You enjoy
Chris,
it.
thank you.
Appreciate
Enjoyed our 30-plus years together.
Sure have been. Thank you, my friend. Back to more on Oklahoma Sports Scene right after this.
Tulsa Oilers hockey at the BOK Center. The ultimate experience of hockey and entertainment. Save big on season tickets today. Full season tickets starting as low as $17 per month for all 36 home games. Get your season tickets at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. Experience hard-hitting, glove-dropping, pulse-pounding, glass-rattling kind of thrill. Season tickets available now at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. This is your town, your team, your Tulsa Oilers hockey.
Around the clock, throughout eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis. Our story, it lives in Tulsa, where the spirit of the past lives alongside us and urges us on toward a vibrant future. Because our story is still being written. It's the story of Tulsa, told by the journalists who live it and love it. Whether it's covering our rich history, bringing you the hidden gems of the food scene, or following the action in local sports. And here, in the Tulsa world, is where it comes to life.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sports Scene. I am not Chris Lincoln. I'm Michael Knight. Normally, I'm behind the camera. This week, at least for this segment, I'm in front of the camera, and we're talking AAC Media Days and TU Golden Hurricane football. A couple weeks ago, we talked Big 12 Media Days, SEC Media Days, and now we have Bill Haisten from the Tulsa World, our friend and recurring guest of Oklahoma Sports Scene, on to talk AAC Media Days. He was down in Dallas for them. And Bill, when we talk about the AAC and how different it looks now, that's just the nature of college football in 2024, where all these conferences, realignment has happened. It's been completely shaken up, and you have new teams from the AAC now ready to make their first jump into this competition.
You know, it's interesting. So Army and Navy are now both members, football-only members of the conference. And then, but then I got thinking, well, that team used to be in Conference USA, and so did these guys, and that team over here. And I added it up, and 11 of the 14 football schools in the American were in Conference USA. So it's just this crazy domino effect, really since 2010, 2011. But I mean, you could roll all the way back to 92 with Arkansas moving to the SEC, but yeah, the AAC losing, you know, the schools to the Big 12, and it's just, you know, it's just been this crazy ride over the last few years with regard to realignment. And now the American is a deeper league for sure with the addition of Army. Army's always going to be good with a lot of older guys, but very physical. I covered the OU Army game in 2018, Michael.
Yeah.
And Army was the more physical team that night. No doubt about it. So Army will be a very physical opponent for anybody on the AAC schedule. And Army comes to TU on the 5th of October, which I can't wait to watch that.
What was the mindset like at Media Days where you have the AAC, and we've seen it? I mean, look, it's talking season. That's what July is in college football. And
Right.
You've seen college commissioners get up there, and whether it's, you know, the Big 12 saying, look, we are the third best conference in the country. You know, the SEC, they're always going to flex their muscles with Greg Sankey up there. What was the mindset and landscape like with the AAC? I mean, it's the best group of 5 conference, correct?
Well, it is, yeah. And with the most, with regard to individual awards, with regard to team achievement over the last decade, it's proven, it's established as the most accomplished of all the group of 5. But really the message from the new commissioner, Pernetti, was his kind of takeaway for me was he kept hammering at his contention that there is no group of 5. There are 9 conferences playing major college football, and we're one of those. And you know, and he believes, you know, he's a really aggressive guy, and you talk about a positive first impression. He delivered a pretty powerful State of the Union kind of address that morning, and I think his background in television, because he spent quite a bit of time at ESPN/ABC, right, college football programming. I think his relationships in television will really benefit the American eventually, but then you have to be like the Big 12 guy, right? You've got to be out of the box. You've got to have great ideas, fresh ideas. We'll see if this guy does, but ultimately the teams on the field have to back it up. And you got a 12-team playoff right now, right? So there was a lot of talk about the importance of the Americans scoring one of those spots in the 12-team tournament. So no, I thought it was great energy. It was a great hotel, very classy, very surprisingly big presentation, I thought, for the AAC. And then, Tulsa was picked to finish 12th, which surprised me a little bit. I thought they'd be closer to maybe 8, 9, maybe 10. But in this day and age of such fluid rosters and such massive player movement, I don't know how you can really have an educated pick on 1 through 14 in any league anymore. But I don't believe Tulsa has 12th place type personnel. I don't. And I think Kirk Francis, a kid you watched in high school, I saw him in high school. We saw him enough at the end of the Tulsa season last year at quarterback as a walk-on last year. I absolutely believe he's the most talented and complete quarterback Tulsa has, and that's the most important piece going into a season. Kevin Wilson has a history of having worked with, NFL guys, both at Ohio State and OU. So let's see how that looks with a full offseason and a full preseason for Kevin Wilson to prepare Kirk Francis to quarterback that program. And let's see if they can avoid what would be a third consecutive losing season for the program. They don't want to get in that kind of rut. They've been there before. They don't want to get back into it again. So tough schedule. They've got some tough road games. They've got Oklahoma State at home on the schedule. That'll be interesting. But can Kevin Wilson squeeze with a rebuilt offensive line with a quarterback who I believe is the real deal, but he hasn't done it much yet. He hadn't played a whole lot yet. And a lot of new pieces, a lot of new transfer pieces on both sides of the ball. Can he get 7 wins out of that? That's the storyline for TU.
Yeah, and look, you mentioned Kirk Francis, and obviously my history covering high school football. I thought Kirk was the best quarterback in Oklahoma when he was a senior. I think that he has a wonderful shot to lead the Golden Hurricane this year. We saw a glimpse of it last season. He's going to have a battle, though. I mean, obviously, the quarterback depth chart at TU, it's not lacking talent going into fall camp. You mentioned some of the other position groups. What are some of the areas where TU needs to take that next step in order to get, bowl eligible and avoid that losing season?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest question mark by like a mile is the offensive line. They don't have much experience back. They got a lot of new people. And so that's so challenging in 25 preseason practices you got Michael, that the most coordination and choreographed position group of all the position groups is the O-line. You have to have a true unit more than any other position group. So can they take all those new pieces and come up with 5 guys they can trust, snap to snap, plus 2 additional guys who can fill in, play multiple positions, tackle or guard. Can they do that in 25 practices? Because I think that's the key to the season, because they've got a 1,200-yard running back in Anthony Watkins. They've got nice receivers. Camden Benjamin's a really good player. Their tight ends room, Michael, is as good as anybody's. And I don't mean anybody's in the American. I mean like anybody's. They're loaded with tight ends who can block and catch it. I think Owen Ostrowski, a kid you and I watched I thought the best player in the state in 2020 was Owen Ostrowski from Holland Hall. He's ready to really break out and distinguish himself as an edge rusher. They got an edge rusher who moved in from Indiana/UCLA, Miles Jackson, I think is his name. They got good pieces, man. And they don't have 12th place pieces. I do believe that, but it starts at quarterback. But then by extension, it really starts up front on offense. And can they protect Kirk Francis, give him a chance to work? Because if they do, I believe he can find a way to get them into the end zone.
Let's finish up this conversation talking about the recruiting dynamic where Kevin Wilson, from the moment he took this job, I feel like he kind of reinvigorated in-state recruiting to TU. And we've seen it pay off immediately, both from the high school level and then in the transfer portal, where Oklahoma kids who maybe have gone off to other schools, we've seen Braylon Presley, Keywan Parker, DJ Jones, all from the Tulsa area. They went off to other schools and then they came back to Tulsa. You mentioned Owen Ostrowski, Kirk Francis. We can go on with the in-state kids. There's
Grayson Tempest.
Yeah, Grayson Tempest. I mean, there's some freshmen that are coming up as well. Brody Duffel from Bixby, big offensive lineman that they signed. I love what Kevin Wilson is doing, and I think that it's going to pay off not only right now with the in-state talent that's signing out of high school, but they're going to be able to get those kids that go off to other schools, find out they don't really like it that much, and when they enter the portal, they go back to TU. I think it's going to pay off for the Golden Hurricane, not only now, but in the future.
I just think a lot of athletes in high school, a lot of recruitable, obvious, major college talented guys, they have maybe a fantasy about NIL, big NIL. And then obviously the most important piece for them is to be on the field. They want to play, right? So, it'll be whether it's Kevin Wilson getting guys directly out of high school or getting them in a second wave of recruiting through the portal. I think you're right. I think he's done a great job of that. I thought his 2024 recruiting class was sensational. I did. And so he inherited kind of a broken situation, a little bit of a mess. And by mid-year last year, it was kind of if you want to be here, let's go. And if you don't, let's go somewhere else. And I think he has a roster he's really happy with and knows really well now. He was still trying to get to know guys' names at this time last year. So, no, I'm confident. And, I see Kevin Wilson around town quite a bit, Michael, and so do you. I mean, you go to one of the bigger games on a Friday night, and if he has the ability to be there, he will be there. And I can't say I saw that a whole lot from the previous TU staff. So I do believe that Kevin Wilson is connected. I think Bill Blankenship has been a really good asset for Kevin Wilson with regard to introductions and maybe pointing, giving him some pointers on you should check this out and check that out. And so I think Kevin is really, really mindful of the value of recruiting Tulsa County and Oklahoma as a whole. But man, Tulsa County is very rich with guys who can play ball. And I think Kevin Wilson is going to really, really pay attention to those kids.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, within the first week, 2 weeks, I mean, not only he, but his entire staff were in hallways of schools all across Oklahoma. I think it's going to pay off. I think you started to see it at the end of last season. I think it'll trickle over to this year. Completely agree with your assessment as well. They're not a 12th place team, but you got to prove it on the field. Preseason rankings are worth absolutely nothing. Bill, as always, man, it's great talking to you. Thanks as always for joining us here on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
All right, Michael, I will see you soon.
Yes, sir. High school football is right around the corner. We had to talk about it at least a little bit, right? All right. Coming up next.
We have to talk about it a lot, right? We will talk about it a lot when I see you next. Practice starts on August 12th, which seems insanely late to me, but the calendar's kind of funky this year, right?
Yep.
But and then we got a Bixby Owasso again.
That's right. That's right.
Let's go.
Yeah, I can't wait. As always, I can't wait for high school football.
I can't wait.
All right, for Bill, I'm Michael Knight. We're going to throw it back after this break to Chris Lincoln. He has Robert Allen coming up next. The Olympics going on. Oklahoma State well represented in the Olympic Games this year. And Robert has the breakdown on the Cowboys over in Paris. That's next on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
Tulsa Oilers hockey at the BOK Center. The ultimate experience of hockey and entertainment. Save big on season tickets today. Full season tickets starting as low as $17 per month for all 36 home games. Get your season tickets at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. Experience hard-hitting, glove-dropping, pulse-pounding, glass-rattling kind of thrill. Season tickets available now at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. This is your town, your team, your Tulsa Oilers hockey.
Thoroughbred season at Remington Park continues into December with plenty of winning primetime action. Make plans now for Oklahoma Derby Day on Sunday, September 29th. The lone Sunday afternoon of the season begins at 3 p.m. with the richest race of the season, the Grade 3 $400,000 Oklahoma Derby, as the main event. The normal Remington Park racing week is Wednesday through Saturday. First race nightly, 6:30 p.m. Visit remingtonpark.com for all post times, group rates, and dining reservations.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, home of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, is a treasure trove of memorabilia honoring Oklahoma sports legends. For museum hours or to schedule a tour, go to oklahomasportshalloffame.org.
Last week here at Oklahoma Sports Scene, we had Robert Allen on, the OSU football insider, on the sidelines for them for some 20 years now. The Cowboys kicked off their 2024 season. Just a couple weeks now, August 31st, host two-time national champion South Dakota State. The Jackrabbits come in hopping here. They have a 29-game win streak. The two-time defending FCS champions. The last loss is back on the first game of the 2022 season at Iowa. They lost 7-3 to a Big Ten team. Before the new season, though, we asked Robert to look back with us and talk about the incredible 23-24 year of athletics at Oklahoma State, record-setting. Also, about the Olympics and all the athletes that Oklahoma State has represented in Paris. Here's Alan talking about his favorite athletes.
Yeah, Chase Ely is a favorite of mine. She a shot putter at Oklahoma State. I think she was a walk-on when she arrived here. By the time she left, she was the best shot putter in the Big 12, and she was making headway toward, Team USA and being involved in world championships. And she's won 2 of those now, and now in the Olympic Games. She's a great story. And then the other one is Gabby Galvadite from Lithuania, who is one of the best mid-level distance runners for Oklahoma State, and has had a tremendous amount of success. There were a lot of others that were in contention in primarily up in Eugene, Oregon, in the Team USA trials that just missed. So the number is 12 now. New Zealand added a soccer player that played for Colin Carmichael at Oklahoma State, but there could have been, close to 20 if some of those girls and guys that were close in the trials could have moved up another spot.
See, OSU is tied actually for second among Big 12 teams with Olympic athletes. They're leading the way by quite a margin is Arizona State. They had the 22. Then OSU moved in with Texas Tech for 12. Thought it was great. The Oklahoma State over the years are so impressed. They produced 120 Olympians all time entering the games and earned 21 gold, 5 silver, and 8 bronze. Great tradition.
Yeah, there was a day, Chris, where track and field, Oklahoma State was really good. And then they went through a long dry spell. And now that's really coming back under Dave Smith. They won the national championship this year in cross country. And, they were highly ranked in some of the distance events, certainly in the NCAA this last season, both indoor and outdoor. But wrestling, you got to go back to wrestling.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State's going into a new era with David Taylor. We found out recently his salary is $1 million. That's the highest paid wrestling coach in America. He's a great Olympian. Of course, his predecessor, John Smith, is the greatest Olympian in wrestling in U.S. history. So, yeah, you got to look at wrestling as where Oklahoma State's probably made their most money when it comes to winning medals in the Olympic Games.
More great notes on Oklahoma State's Olympic participation. They have produced 120 Olympians, mentioned 34 gold medals. They've also represented the Olympic Games, at least one OSU athlete, in every Olympic Games since 1924. That even predates me.
It does predate you, just barely. No, I'm just teasing. Yeah, like I say, it's been, and this year there's some golfers that are in there. So golf, with that becoming an Olympic sport here in our lifetime, that's another one that Oklahoma State has excelled at. But yeah, it's a great heritage. And again, I was talking to somebody the other day. We were talking about the future of college athletics and how much money is really going to have to be invested in football, because football is where it's where you make your living now in college athletics. But Oklahoma State fans don't want to give up that tradition of being good at everything. And so we're going to see how Chad Weiberg and the athletic department mix that up, putting a lot of eggs in the football basket because you have to, but still making it so your other sports can do well.
And that's something Oklahoma State is taking great pride in. They have, I think, led the Big 12 either before or now present as far as overall championships. It's just amazing.
No, and this was a great year this year. They finished again in the top 25 in the Directors Cup. That's something they prided themselves in. Also in the Bedlam Cup, which goes away. I mean, I don't think they'll still keep score in the Bedlam Cup. I don't know how many sports they'll actually end up meeting in. But 21-9 was a heck of a way to go out. And Oklahoma State's won that. God, I want to say 9 of the last 10 years they've won the Bedlam Cup. So, and then, for Mike Gundy, who I get it. Oklahoma State fans have complained over the years, why don't we do better against OU? But he won 2 of the last 3. And I was having a conversation with some OSU fans that are friends of mine on their way to Canada. They called me and said, "Hey, we need you to entertain us for the drive a little bit here." And we were talking about it, and we all agreed that that win over Oklahoma last year in football is going to go down as one of the better ones in Oklahoma State history.
By the way, Oklahoma State has won Big 12 championships in men's cross country, equestrian, women's track, just in
soccer. They won soccer, wrestling, golf, women's tennis this year. If they don't have an injury on that last step of the way against Tennessee, the Cowgirls are the number 1 seed, number 1 ranked team, and they're hosting the NCAA championships. And I was there for that. Tough for Chris Young, and you had two players get hurt in the middle of their matches. And again, that's the way it worked. And Tennessee did well, and they got in. But that was a great Oklahoma State tennis team this year.
And Oklahoma State had 53 student athletes get All-American honors. That's an all-time record for OSU.
Again, Oklahoma State likes to be good in everything. So they've done a pretty good job of it over the years.
Well, what do you expect to camp? Things get underway this week, and what's the emphasis? What are you going to be looking for with the Cowboy team of 24?
The first thing I'm going to look at is Alan Bowman. Talked to him a lot in Las Vegas, talked to him a lot in the offseason. He was still knocking rust off last year. 2 of the things he did, he slimmed down a little bit. He wants to be able to run the ball just enough to keep defenses honest. And then he went back and looked at all of his mistakes. His touchdown interception ratio of 15 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. That's not what you want. You at least want 2-1. And he worked very hard on correcting mistakes. So I kind of want to see what Allen looks like going into this. The other thing I will say that I don't know that, it's just every year I like to go to watch some of the summer workouts toward the end to see where this team is physically. And usually when I say something to Rob Glass, he'll say, "Oh, you got your orange colored glasses on. You're seeing this team's, you see them better than they really are." But last week I went up to Rob Glass. I said, "Rob, I don't know, but this looks like the best physically on the hoof, strength, speed, just the look of this team looks the best I've ever seen." And he said, "I think you're right." So when Rob Glass says he's got a product that physically may be the best the Cowboys have ever taken, he's turned over to Mike Gundy for fall camp. That's impressive.
And finally, Rob, real quick, 22 former Cowboys are on NFL rosters in training camp right now. And anyone there you got to kind of follow and see if they make the team or continue their pro career.
There's some great stories. I enjoyed a couple of years ago, HBO's Hard Knocks was in Detroit. Malcolm Rodriguez rookie season. So they made Malcolm into a hero. They're with the Bears this year. Tevin Jenkins is there on the offensive line, and Eamon Abonbamiga, who's going into his 4th year, I think, now in the NFL, making it as an undrafted free agent. He's with the Bears. So I think we're going to see a lot of them. My favorite overall is Jaylen Warren with the Steelers. He has really become, with Najee Harris there, he's become 1A behind Najee with the Steelers. So I love watching him. But the best story, Chris, I think is Leon Johnson. Leon Johnson III that played last year came out of George Fox University. Nobody had ever heard of him, Division III. And the reason he ended up at OSU was the LA Chargers had a scout go through, and he said, son, you got a chance here, but you need to go somewhere where you can polish this up and get seen. So it was actually a Los Angeles Chargers scout that told him, go to a bigger school. Well, he didn't get drafted, although he played well last year. He's 6'6". He's got great size, great speed. He's very athletic. Played center field in baseball as well in college. But Chargers signed him as an undrafted free agent. So the same scout that pushed him to Division I was responsible for getting him signed with the Chargers. He's in their camp. I'm anxious to see. I will bet you anything he at least makes their practice squad and has a chance.
I like the fact that it's like Chuba Hubbard has finally got the starting role in Carolina this year.
Chuba Hubbard has done well for himself, and again, new coaching staff there. Another guy to look for. Had a really good end of the season for the Steelers in his contract year, his end of his first contract. Quarterback Mason Rudolph is now with the Tennessee Titans. Right. So I'm hoping he'll get a better shot at maybe being the guy, because Mason's got a ton of talent.
Robert Allen, always great to be inside OSU athletics with you, especially, buddy. And how many seasons for you now? And again, tell people where they can hear and follow you.
This is 25 for me on the sidelines on the radio network, but it's 20 for head coach Mike Gundy, and it's 20 for Dave, John Holcomb, and myself as a team. So all of us are in the 20th year together when you talk about our team on the network and the head football coach.
All right. Orange power and pistols firing, right?
There you go, Chris. Appreciate it.
Okay, buddy. All the best. Right back with more on Oklahoma Sports Scene. Stay with us.
It's time. Time to get back to the basics. Time to meet up with family and friends. Time to play ball. It's time to cheer on your Tulsa Drillers. It's Hornsby time. It's Tulsa time in the heart of the city. It's time to fire it up.
Our story, it lives in Tulsa, where the spirit of the past lives alongside us and urges us on toward a vibrant future. Because our story is still being written. It's the story of Tulsa, told by the journalists who live it and love it. Whether it's covering our rich history, bringing you the hidden gems of the food scene, or following the action in local sports. And here, in the Tulsa world, is where it comes to life.
Tulsa Oilers hockey at the BOK Center. The ultimate experience of hockey and entertainment. Save big on season tickets today. Full season tickets starting as low as $17 per month for all 36 home games. Get your season tickets at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. Experience hard-hitting, glove-dropping, pulse-pounding, glass-rattling kind of thrill. Season tickets available now at TulsaOilers.com. That's TulsaOilers.com. This is your town, your team, your Tulsa Oilers hockey.
1 week from this Friday, they're back to live racing at Remington Park in Oklahoma City. It's the thoroughbred season getting underway. Big time in thoroughbred racing right now. The summer meet's going on. Great meet at Del Mar at San Diego. And of course, the historic meet at Saratoga Race Course, upstate New York. Big features coming up. Traverse Stakes, Midsummer Derby. We'll be covering that for you. First, let's get up here on what's going on at Remington Park right now before the season gets underway. Here's their track announcer, Gail Day, trackside.
Preparations continue for all involved as the opening night of the 2024 Thoroughbred season at Remington Park is set for Friday, August 16th. Miss Code West, the 2023 horse of the meeting at Remington Park, has returned and will attempt to grow her 4-race winning streak that she built here as a 2-year-old. Trained by Kevin Scholl, Miss Code West racked up stakes wins in the Oklahoma Classics Lassie, the Slideshow Stakes, and then the top open company stakes race for 2-year-old fillies, the Trapeze, on the final night of the season. Just over a half mile to go. Trying to open things up. Miss Code West is out by almost 2. The opening half went at 48.31. Miss Code West will lead them to the second turn. Moving well at the rail, Texas Women for Arts there, nose to nose with Lori's Secret. Quick Tack is fourth, now trying to come on, looking to get through some traffic. Magnolia Avenue fifth, into the turn. Sensational is sixth. Gypsum has left the back all alone to Midnight Lady. And up front, it is Miss Code West, still there by a pair, but Texas Women for Arts is coming on strongly as they reach the quarter pole and getting through that traffic. Magnolia Avenue now third with work to do. Top of the stretch in the trapeze, it's Miss Code West out by more than 2. Chased by Texas Women for Arts. Magnolia Avenue third. Coming up the rail now with a furlong left is Gypsum, and Sensational is fifth. Final strides and final 16th, and pulling clear, Miss Code West will stay undefeated. She's all business, top Oklahoma bred right here, and she wins it by 8. After the Remington Park opening weekend, the next big event date is Oklahoma Derby Day on Sunday, September 29th. Trainer Joby Castor has a 3-year-old he is hoping to put in the Derby, recent 2-time stakes winner, Flat Hanby. The gelding has scored the Canterbury Park Derby in Minnesota and the Iowa Stallion Stakes at Prairie Meadows so far this summer and is possibly looking for a much bigger prize later on this season. Opening weekend at Remington Park is Friday and Saturday, August 16th and 17th. First race time, 6:30 p.m. In Oklahoma City at Remington Park, I'm Dale Day. Now back to Sports Scene.
Again, live racing starts at Remington Park again. Third meet opens August the 16th, a week from this Friday. Coming up next on Oklahoma Sports Scene, we'll wrap things up. Let you know what's coming up on the show. Looking ahead, so stay with us. Be right back.
Thoroughbred season at Remington Park continues into December with plenty of winning primetime action. Make plans now for Oklahoma Derby Day on Sunday, September 29th. The lone Sunday afternoon of the season begins at 3 p.m. with the richest race of the season, the Grade 3 $400,000 Oklahoma Derby as the main event. The normal Remington Park racing week is Wednesday through Saturday. First race nightly, 6:30 p.m. Visit remingtonpark.com for all post times, group rates, and dining reservations.
As the sun rises over eastern Oklahoma, we are devoted to one thing: improving the health of our communities, our home. We are your friends, your neighbors. We are the people of St. Francis.
You've seen the billboards, you've heard the hype, and now it's time for the Wee Street Ice Center to open its doors and welcome you in. 140,000 square feet, 2 ice rinks, public skating, hockey, arcade, game simulators, and the largest sports bar and grill is sliding into Tulsa. It's the grand opening of the new Wee Street Ice Center, 43rd and Yale. Make your plans, get your skate on, or watch some sports today. The Wee Street Ice Center, now open and ready to serve you. Wee Street Ice Center, 43rd and Yale.
Next week on Oklahoma Sports Scene, be sure to join us in the beautifully cool Wee Street Ice Center. About 50 degrees cooler in here than it is outside. Marvin joins us, the head football coach, Tulsa's Indoor Professional Football League team. Just missed the playoffs this year. For big things in 2025. A bunch of players that re-signed. Talk to him next week. And we'll visit with the Tulsa World News sports writer, Tyler Waldrop, covering the Big 12. This was there at their media days. Until then, as we remind you always on Oklahoma Sports Scene, be a good sport.